Whoopi Goldberg, who has a new book out, and she's been promoting it, including on The View, where, she has a book coming out, was out, I don't know if it's out yet, but she has a memoir. It's called Bits and Pieces, My Mother, My Brother, and Me, where she's opening up about, her family, the stuff she went through with her mother, her brother, and then stuff about her personal life. So she's opening up about being addicted to the Booger sugar early on in her career, and it got so bad that she started to hallucinate, eventually forcing an aha moment. She didn't see Oprah when she had that aha moment, did she? So in the new memoir, Goldberg reflects on her long history of substance use, beginning in her youth before getting sober in the 70s. But as she entered the industry at the start of her Hollywood career, the comedian found herself surrounded by an abundance of cocaine, which resulted in her relapse. She said, I was invited to parties where I was greeted at the door with a bowl of Quaaludes from which I could pick what I wanted. This is what she writes in her memoir. Lines of the Booger sugar were laid across tables and bathroom counters for the taking. Goldberg discussed her struggle to maintain sobriety for 12 months before she began using the Booger sugar again. During this time, she experienced drug-induced hallucinations, spending prolonged periods isolated in her room. She vividly recalls one instance where she hallucinated a monster lurking beneath her bed, causing her to, what the hell was in that cocaine? Causing her to remain confined in her room for 24 hours, resulting in her urinating on the mattress. It was a really good time for about a year, she wrote. Then I fell into a deep well of cocaine and sank to a new low. Nobody around me caught on where I was at with it. At least that's what I wanted to believe. I would have called myself a very high functioning addict. Now, she also recounts getting sober again after a hotel maid found her doing Booger sugar in the closet of her room. She said, get up, get out, and fix your life. She recalls thinking, she said, you've been sitting in the closet for 2 days. It's not good. And so I'm glad that she had that moment and she got cleaned up. And word on the curb is that Whoopi Goldberg is another one who's been using weight loss drugs, but it's not Ozempic. It's called Mounjaro. I never heard of that because, if you look at Whoopi Goldberg, she has slipped down, she has lost a lot of weight, and she looks good. She wears her big signature white t-shirt. She loves wearing that. And she recently also, because I want to bring this up, she recently appeared on the Don Lemon show, which I want to show y'all, where she talked about sex. And she had said that when it comes to relationships, she's a hit it and quit it type of chick. And so shout out to Gay Magazine for this story, where they brought this up that she said, she's all about the hit and run. Isn't there a song called Hit and Run, like an old school song back in the day? But anyway, we're going to play the clip and then we'll talk about it.
I don't think so.
You know why I'm asking that? Because
you missed the part where he asked her.
Just got married. And yes. I remember before when you wrote the book about marriage was not for you.
Right.
I interviewed you then and we talked about it just personally. And I said, I don't think marriage is for me.
Yeah. Well, my house, the truth of the matter is I am fundamentally a selfish person because I have a wonderful kid and a son-in-law and 3 grandkids and 1 great-grand. That I don't have time for a whole lot of other people coming into my life, because that's my kid and that's the family, and so hit and runs are great. I don't mind those, but you can't spend the night with me.
Mm-hmm. So, and I don't take issue with what she said. I feel like I'm at that point where she's like, you know what, I know myself. I know what I want out of life. She's done the marriage thing. She's been married a multitude of times, I think about twice. And she realized that marriage isn't for her. And you know what, I applaud someone who is open enough to say, you know what, marriage is not for me. Don Lemon said that he thought in the beginning of his life that marriage wasn't for him. It's probably because he's a gay black man and, when you come from a certain time, and Don Lemon is someone who's in his 50s and looks good, by the way. we're told that, we're going to die of the high five, and, we're not going to live a long time, and we don't deserve love, and we can't find love, and all this other stuff because being gay is a sin and all this other shit. So you kind of look at it as like, you know what? I don't think I'm ever going to find love. I'm ever going to be in a relationship. So I'm just going to be promiscuous. I'm just going to have sex and whatever the case is and let the chips fall where they may. But I love the fact that Whoopi Goldberg has been open enough to say, like, you know what? I've been through the marriage thing. I understand how the relationship situation works. I've invested a lot of my time and energy into, I love my friendships that I have with people. I've invested a lot of times in my only child, Alex, and, her husband and the kids and the grandkids and the great grandkids. And my energy goes into that. Now, whenever that itch needs to be scratched, then I have my harem of gentlemen callers that I can call up and get it in with. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I feel like, you know what? I'm selfish in that way too. It's just like, I love my privacy. I love my alone time. I love myself to a point where it's just like, I like my own, I like being in my own company. I think it could be a Virgo thing too. We just like our own company and shit. And it's like, I value my friendships with people. And then when the itch needs to be scratched, if I need to have sex, first of all, I live in New York, so it's not that hard to get laid. So if I need to get some, I'm going to get some. But as far as like investing that time and energy into another person and having to deal with their needs and their insecurities or their bad habits, whatever the case is, because, us Virgos, we could be overtly critical. Any little thing sets us off. I don't have a problem. It's just like, I'd rather just be by myself and I have to deal with the other BS and disappointment and all this other stuff rather than being in a relationship. But I know if it comes down to us being in a relationship, we are loyal to a fault. But for the most part, it's just like, okay, I'm good. Like, I don't need a whole relationship situation to feel the way I need to feel about somebody. So I if Whoopi is open enough to, well, woman enough to admit that, then that's great. But she also addressed in the whole situation that, you have to come to terms with that, because people look at it as like, her being a woman, you're a whore, that you're just going around sleeping with Tom, Dick, and Harry. But it's just like, okay, so I know what I want. You come in, hit the spot and go about your merry way. And I'm sure there's men that's all for that too. But you got to be willing to be in that situation. You got to be a willing participant, want to be in that situation rather than trying to force a situation that is not going to happen. So good luck. Shout out to Whoopi. Girl, I ain't mad at what you had to say.